Welcome back, Defenders. Jake here. Quick follow-up on the Tucker Carlson interview. Yesterday I filmed a separate reaction video. If you haven't seen it, check it out. I'll link it down below. But the reports coming out of the Kremlin is that Putin is not satisfied with how the interview turned out. Kremlin insiders are saying the problem was the unpreparedness of the interview arrangements. This would make it Peskov's mistake for not coaching Putin on the necessary propaganda talking points to hit in this interview. Putin was supposed to talk about Nazis in Kyiv, biolabs, genocide in the Donbass, NATO aggression. Russia only wants peace, and it's the United States that always wants war. That's what he was supposed to talk about. Putin should have talked about conservative values and the creation of a conservative global alliance. Tucker Carlson's audience is primarily MAGA Republicans. So this was an opportunity for Putin to speak directly to MAGA Republicans while Congress is debating $60 billion in additional military aid to Ukraine. What Russia was supposed to do is tell these MAGA Republicans, stop supporting Ukraine, help Russia win this war, and I'll help you get Donald Trump reelected. You guys are conservative, we're conservative, we should be allies. But Putin didn't actually like Tucker Carlson upon meeting him. The quote coming out of the Kremlin is, Putin thinks Tucker is a snob and a useful idiot who got a meaningful fee, but was lazy and lacked creativity. So you could tell during the interview Putin thought he was nailing it when he was talking about the Polish oppression of Ukraine from the 1200s. And Tucker Carlson wasn't appreciating it. Tucker kept trying to go back to modern times, and Putin only wanted to talk about historical claims from 800 years ago. So the interview was a flop, and everyone's just going to move on. We've got the usual headline, Ukraine claims drone strikes on 2 oil refineries in Russia's Krasnodar region. Of course, there's pictures and videos online. I'll link them down below. This is where this oil refinery is located inside of Russia. And it's going to take weeks. It's going to take months. Ukraine's doing a pretty good job of cycling through all these facilities, hitting each one about once every week or two. And they're big facilities, so it's going to take a lot of strikes. But eventually, all these facilities on the Baltic and Black Seas will go offline, and Russia's not going to get any of their oil or gas exports out through the Baltic and Black Seas. Similar, it's deja vu. Russia just keeps doing the same thing, terrorizing civilians. Kyiv destroys 40 out of 45 drones launched by the Russians. This was last night. 2 nights ago, overnight Russian drone attack kills at least 7 in Ukraine's Kharkiv region. Ukraine still shoots down 23 out of 31, but because the city of Kharkiv is so close to the Russian border, it's a lot harder to protect this city. The pictures and videos online are horrific. I'll link some of these down below if you want to see Russia's terrorism for yourself. And I have to stop and put a human face on these tragedies. This was an entire family killed in their own home in Kharkiv. The mother's name was Olga, the father was Gregory, and they had 3 children, 3 sons, ages 7, 4, and 10 months old. And this happens almost every single night. Russia continues to target civilians to kill as many Ukrainians as possible. Here's the mayor of Kharkiv in front of some burning homes, saying that Kharkiv will never surrender to the Russians. I don't know if I can play this video for you, so I'm going to link it down below if you want to see it for yourself. When we switch over to the military map, it's not good news for the city of Avdiivka. The Russians are making progress, fighting in the streets. They're in the city now on the northern parts. Russians are less than 1 kilometer from the Avdiivka supply road. Ukraine's general says no decision has been made, to retreat from the city. It's not my call to make, but I think Ukraine should probably pull out of the city and move back to more defensible positions along these villages that you see right here. I know Ukraine really wants to deny Putin a propaganda win prior to his election in mid-March, but this is the reality. Ukraine is running out of absolutely everything. Republicans here in the United States have been blocking additional military aid since October 1st. The funding ran out at the end of December. So it's going to get bad. It's going to get very bad for the Ukrainians if Donald Trump and the Republicans continue blocking military aid. Russia closes in on Avdiivka as Western aid for Kyiv falters. This is a war of attrition. And I want to remind everyone that the combined military might of Russia, Iran, and North Korea working together for 4 months just to capture this one mid-sized city that's really a suburb of Donetsk. I just have to keep repeating that. Ukraine air defense missile stock could be gone by March without a resupply from the United States. So I know for my international viewers this is annoying that I keep talking about US politics. But $60 billion in military aid, over the next 10 months, that's $6 billion in military aid every month. This would turn the tide of the battle in favor of Ukraine for the rest of 2024. This has to pass. U.S. Senate moves one step closer to passing Ukraine funding. For my international viewers, the Senate is kind of weird. Yes, you only need 51 votes. That's a majority for a bill to pass. But there's this thing called the filibuster, and you need 60 votes in order to start debate and end debate. So every time this bill moves through the legislative process, it actually needs 60 votes, not 51. So this is good news. 67 senators voted for the bill to begin debates on military aid to Israel, Ukraine, and Taiwan. These are the senators that voted to advance the bill. So 16 Republicans joined all the Democrats. If you want to see if your senator is on this list, you can pause the video. But I do want to point out that Oklahoma Senator Langford is not on this list. He was the author of the border security bill that Trump didn't want, so Langford wanted border security, not actually to support Ukraine. I think that's interesting. And this is where the video is going to get nasty. Trump threatens to encourage attack on NATO members behind on their payments. I don't want to show a clip of Donald Trump, but he's forcing me to do it. This is what he said at a campaign rally in South Carolina yesterday.
Of the presidents of a big country stood up and said, well, sir, if we don't pay and we're attacked by Russia, will you protect us? I said, you didn't pay? You're delinquent? He said, yes, let's say that happened. No, I would not protect you. In fact, I would encourage them to do whatever the hell they want. You got to pay.
So Trump admits as president he would not protect NATO allies if Russia invaded them. In fact, he would encourage the Russians to do whatever they want if they don't pay. So first we have to talk about NATO, and there is no payments. Nobody pays for NATO's membership. It's a defensive alliance in which militaries coordinate action in the event one of their members is attacked. So there is no obligation for each and every member to contribute unless it is in Article 5 collective defense operations. Nobody is paying anyone. Trump is speaking like a mafia boss, in which smaller countries have to pay him protection money from the Chinese and the Russians. That's not how this works. In 2006, NATO defense ministers agreed to commit a minimum of 2% of their GDP to defense spending to continue to ensure the alliance's military readiness. It's okay for Trump to say countries should be spending more on their own military defense. They should hit that 2% GDP guideline, but it's a fucking guideline. It's not a requirement, and nobody is paying the United States money for protection. It gets worse. Trump calls for no more aid without the hope of payback. Fresh off his successful campaign to torpedo a border security bill tied to aid to Ukraine, Trump is trying to kill this. He's calling Republican senators saying, don't support military aid for Ukraine. Here's his tweet on Truth Social, all caps because he's screaming. From this point forward, are you listening, United States Senate? No money in the form of foreign aid should be given to any other country unless it is done as a loan, not just a giveaway. So this is how Trump is going to kill this military aid for Ukraine. He's going to say that Americans are being ripped off and we're losing money and people should be paying us, not the other way around. For a certain percentage of the American population, this message will be easy to repeat. Can I get the most benefit for myself by screwing other people over? I argue that's not the American way, but that's the Trump way. And the United States has collective defense arrangements with 50 countries around the world. They don't pay us for these alliances. It's not a pay to play to get protection from the other nuclear powers. We extend our military nuclear deterrence umbrella to all these countries so they won't get nukes themselves. This is what has prevented nuclear proliferation. This is what has prevented nuclear war from breaking out all across the world. Because we have a defensive alliance with Japan and South Korea, the Philippines, Australia, Thailand, they don't have to get their own nuclear weapons. If Donald Trump is saying, we're not going to protect you, all of these defense agreements are meaningless. America is just going to do whatever they want. Well, Japan, you now need your own nuclear weapons. South Korea, you now need your own nuclear weapons. Australia, you now need your own nuclear weapons. Turkey, Germany, Italy, Poland, you all need your own nuclear weapons. This is the insane and dangerous world that Donald Trump is now triggering by even talking about this. I guarantee you all of our Democratic allies around the world are listening, and this is not a good day for America. Donald Trump is hurting America and global security. And it's working for Trump. So we had our next procedural vote in the Senate. It was 67 3 days ago, and now it's down to 64. 3 Republican senators have bailed for fear of not doing what Donald Trump wants. And I want to show respect to one of them. This is Republican Alaska Senator Dan Sullivan, making the case that this military aid stays in the United States. I'll let him phrase the debate.
What I want to emphasize here is that this bill is primarily focused on rebuilding our military industrial base in this new era of authoritarian aggression. That is the principal focus. Over half of the dollars that are in this bill, over half, over $50 billion, go directly to America's capacity, our capacity, in states all across this great nation. Mostly in the Midwest and on the East Coast, some out in California, to build weapons, to build ammo, and to be ready for war if it comes.
So over $50 billion of this $60 billion aid package for Ukraine goes to American defense contractors. Companies like Lockheed Martin, Raytheon, Boeing, Northrop Grumman, General Dynamics, Huntington Ingalls, Booz Hamilton. This isn't money we're just giving away to Ukraine. It's not something that Ukraine has to pay back. We give Ukraine old stuff that we built in the 80s and 90s, stuff that we're going to pay to decommission anyways. We then allocate that money to make America's military stronger. Donald Trump is trying to weaken America's military by killing this aid bill. Ukraine bill progresses in the Senate, but faces an impasse in the House of Representatives. Speaker Johnson is just going to do whatever Donald Trump wants. He's working for the Russians. So Speaker Johnson has to go. We need to have a motion to vacate the chair to get a different Republican as Speaker of the House in order to allow this aid for Ukraine bill to pass. So the Senate has to do their job. We're at 64. We can only afford to lose 4 more Republican senators. As soon as it passes, it'll go to the House. If Speaker Johnson blocks a simple up or down vote, he has to be removed. And we actually have good news, relative, because 2 Republican members of the House of Representatives just announced they're quitting Congress. They're fed up with it. They can't take this anymore. They're not going to run for re-election. The first one is Republican Representative from Washington, Kathy Rogers. This is what she sent out to her supporters over the last 2 days, announcing she's not going to run for re-election. But she's a strong supporter of Ukraine. She's voted for Ukraine at every opportunity. So if we need 4 House Republicans to get rid of Speaker Johnson, she's a potential vote. The other Republican quitting Congress is Wisconsin Rep. Mike Gallagher, who's also consistently voted to support Ukraine at every opportunity. This is the message he sent to his supporters over the last 2 days, saying he can't take it anymore. And this is how he ended his email. And though my title may change, my mission will remain the same: deter America's enemies and defend the Constitution. So Mike Gallagher is sick of Trump. He's sick of what MAGA Republicans are doing to America. And if we need another vote to get rid of Speaker Johnson, I think Mike Gallagher will be that vote. We also have U.S. House members traveling to Kyiv to offer reassurance. This was a bipartisan coalition of 2 House Democrats and 2 House Republicans. The House Republicans that went to Kyiv are Mike Turner of Ohio and French Hill of Arkansas. So there we have it. I can come up with 4 just from the last couple days, but I know there are more House Republicans who support Ukraine, and they're sick of what Trump and Johnson are doing. This is Mike Turner in the capital city of Kyiv, saying he's confident military aid will be pushed through.
The United States fully supports this funding, and that as legislators, we support it, and we believe that there's overwhelming support in the House and the Senate, and this will get done. It includes a package that provides the weapon systems that Ukraine has indicated that they need. Also, I know this group and others in the House and the Senate are very big proponents for longer range weapons being provided to Ukraine because of the needs on the battlefield that we're seeing.
Mike Turner is the House Intelligence Committee chairman. He gets the intelligence reports every day of what China is doing, what Russia is doing, what Iran is doing, and what North Korea is doing. He's not going to allow Mike Johnson and Donald Trump to block this military aid package. It's too important. Here's a tweet from Andrew Desiderio. He's the senior congressional reporter for Punchbowl News. And this is the talk currently going around Congress. Senator Tillis, a Republican, tells us he has had conversations with House members about a discharge petition if Speaker Johnson won't put the foreign aid bill on the floor. So these conversations are happening. If the Senate can pass this, we need 9 Senate Republicans to do the right thing. And if it can just make it to the House, we will remove Speaker Johnson to make sure this gets an up or down vote. It's just too important. And this is what's at stake. Russian state TV host says, "We are aggressors and extremely evil." This is Mardan monologuing on his show on Kremlin state TV, and he took a moment to be completely honest. I'll link this down below if you want to hear it in Russian, but let me read the subtitles. They say that we are the aggressors, extremely evil and cruel people. I always say yes. Yes, you are right. Yes, you're right. Yes, Russians are the aggressors. They can be cruel. Russians don't forget anything. Russians always come back to get what is theirs. Russians don't feel guilty. Russians are not prone to reflection. Russians are engaged in cultural expropriation and don't even know what that is. It's very important to listen to the Russians talk about themselves in their rare moments of honesty. All the BS aside, this is who the Russians really are. But we're going to defeat them. Russia is not going to win this war. Let's get to the good news for Ukraine. We've got lots of good news over the last couple days. France announced they will manufacture and provide Ukraine with dozens of Caesar self-propelled howitzers. Thank you so much, France. The Japanese government will pledge $106 million to Ukraine's reconstruction. Thank you so much, Japan. Norway announced that it had asked the parliament to deliver an additional 10 NASAMS air defense launchers and 4 fire control centers. Thank you so much, Norway. Finland approved its 22nd defense aid package worth $205 million. Thank you so much, Finland. Final couple clips I have for you. The first one is, once again, of Zarina Zabrisky. She's a US-based journalist in the city of Kherson. I watch her feed. It's heartbreaking every day to see these videos of the city of Kherson being destroyed. Russia's so close, they just shell random buildings every single day to make the city uninhabitable. And this is Zarina meeting up with an American volunteer.
We just received a phone call from our friend, American volunteer here in Kherson. His name is Carl. He lives downtown and his apartment was hit. We are now on the way, driving there. It's Saturday morning. Didn't start well.
Yeah, as mentioned. I was getting ready to go see the children that I meet with every Saturday, and my apartment took a strike. It hit my building, so it hit. My windows did not get blown out because it hit outside the building to the left of where my building is, and so I could smell that smell you get from explosions. It was only by the grace of God, you know, that any of us live. And
I want to thank Carl and every other decent American who continues to support Ukraine and support democracy around the world. Final feel-good clip, there was another POW exchange between Russia and Ukraine, and 100 Ukrainian defenders were allowed to return home. And we always get these videos when these defenders get off the bus and they're finally allowed to call their loved ones.
Здравствуй, дорогая. Я дома же. Все будет хорошо. Победа будет за нами.
Привет, малышка моя. Дотя. Мамчик, привет. Мои хорошие, все хорошо, я дома уже.
That's all for this update video. Glory to Ukraine, glory to the heroes. If you found this video informative, give me a thumbs up. Best way to support the channel. Comments and questions, let me know down below. I love hearing from you guys. Till the next video, please keep defending the truth, keep defending democracy.